Salt was once as valuable as gold, shaping the fate of civilizations. In the ancient world, salt was not just a simple mineral, it was a symbol of wealth, power, and survival. Its importance was so profound that entire economies and societies were built around its trade and control. Salt preserved food, fueled armies, and determined where cities rose and fell. Without salt, food would spoil quickly, making it nearly impossible to feed large populations or maintain armies on the move. The ability to store food for months or even years gave ancient peoples a powerful advantage. The Romans used salt to preserve food, enabling their legions to march across continents. Salted meats and fish became staples for soldiers, allowing them to travel great distances without fear of starvation. Roman roads, some of the most advanced infrastructure of their time, were often built to connect salt sources to cities and military outposts. In China, salt was essential in both cuisine and medicine. It flavored food, preserved vegetables and meats, and was a key ingredient in traditional remedies. Control over salt production and distribution was a source of political power for Chinese dynasties, and salt taxes funded the growth of empires. Salt was more than seasoning. It was survival, a driver of economies, and a foundation of early societies. In bustling marketplaces, salt was traded alongside precious metals and grains, its value recognized by all. Its value shaped history, dictating the rise and fall of empires. Wars were fought over salt mines and trade routes, and the control of salt could mean the difference between prosperity and collapse for entire civilizations. Before salt, food was seasonal and unreliable. People depended on what they could harvest or hunt, and famine was a constant threat. Without a way to preserve food, communities were vulnerable to the whims of nature. Salt changed everything, allowing people to store food year-round. Suddenly, it was possible to survive harsh winters, droughts, or failed harvests. This breakthrough transformed the way people lived and planned for the future. This stability let communities grow, settle, and plan for the future. Villages became towns, and towns became cities, all thanks to the security that salt provided. Salt became one of the world's first major commodities, a source of immense power and wealth. Merchants traveled vast distances to trade salt, and entire trade routes sprang up to meet the demand. Governments taxed salt, funding armies and infrastructure. The revenue from salt taxes built roads, aqueducts, and even paid for the defense of empires. The quest for salt drove exploration, conflict, and vast trade networks. Caravans crossed deserts, ships braved dangerous seas, and traders risked everything to bring salt to distant lands. Even the word salary comes from salt. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in it. This connection between salt and money highlights just how essential it was to daily life and the functioning of society. Salt was a necessity, as vital as water or grain, woven into every aspect of ancient life. From the food people ate to the taxes they paid, salt was ever present. To understand salt is to understand the hidden economic forces that built the ancient world. Its story is the story of civilization itself, a tale of survival, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of something so simple, yet so powerful. Before refrigeration, salt was the ancient world's answer to food spoilage. For thousands of years, people relied on salt not just as a seasoning, but as a vital tool for survival. It was one of the few ways to keep food edible for long periods, especially in times when fresh food was scarce or the climate was harsh. By drawing moisture out of food, salt stopped bacteria and mold, making long-term storage possible. This simple mineral transformed the way people approached food, allowing them to store meat, fish, and vegetables for months at a time. Salt preservation meant that food could be kept safe from decay, even in the heat of summer or the depths of winter. Suddenly, fish caught in summer could be eaten in winter, and meat from a hunt could last for months. This breakthrough changed daily life, freeing people from the constant pressure to find fresh food. It also allowed communities to plan ahead, storing up supplies for lean times or harsh seasons. This revolutionized diets, making them more varied and reliable. People could enjoy foods from different regions and seasons, and meals became less dependent on what was immediately available. Salted foods became staples in kitchens and markets, expanding culinary possibilities. Salted fish and vegetables could be traded far from their source, connecting distant communities. Trade routes sprang up around salt, turning it into a valuable commodity. Entire economies grew around the production and exchange of salt-preserved foods, linking villages, cities, and even continents. Preservation techniques like dry curing and brining became culinary traditions. These methods were passed down through generations, shaping the flavors and food cultures of entire regions. Recipes and rituals developed around the use of salt, making it a cornerstone of both daily meals and festive feasts. These methods enabled large-scale food industries, supporting cities and armies. With reliable food supplies, populations could grow, and societies could support specialized workers, soldiers, and travelers. Salt preservation made it possible to feed large groups, even far from the source of fresh food. Armies could march with salted provisions, and cities could stockpile food against famine. Salted rations became essential for explorers, traders, and anyone facing long journeys. The ability to preserve food meant that people could travel farther and settle in new places. Salt preservation was more than convenience. It was a strategic technology. Control over salt supplies could determine the fate of cities and empires. Wars were fought over salt, and its value was recognized in laws, taxes, and even religious rituals. It underpinned the growth of empires and urban life. The ability to store and transport food allowed cities to flourish, supporting dense populations and complex societies. Salt was woven into the very fabric of civilization. The ability to preserve food year-round was a turning point in human nutrition and security. It meant fewer people went hungry and communities could survive disasters, droughts, or failed harvests. Salt gave people a sense of stability and hope for the future. Salt's impact on what we ate and when was nothing short of revolutionary. It changed the course of history, shaping our diets, our cultures, and the very way we live. Even today, the legacy of salt preservation can be tasted in cuisines around the world. In Rome, salt was far more than just a seasoning. It was a tool of power, a symbol of wealth, and a foundation of daily life. The value of salt was so great that it influenced language itself. The word salary comes from salarium, the payments made to Roman soldiers, sometimes in salt or to buy salt. This precious mineral was essential for survival, and its control meant influence over people and regions. Salt was also a symbol of civilization. The Romans engineered vast salt works along the Mediterranean coast, harnessing the sun and sea to produce the mineral in large quantities. These salt works were marvels of ancient engineering, and their output fueled the growth of cities and trade. To ensure a steady supply, the Romans built roads like the Via Salaria, literally, the Salt Road. This vital route connected the salt pans at Ostia to the heart of Rome, allowing salt to flow efficiently into the city and beyond, supporting both urban life and military campaigns. Salt was central to the Roman economy and military logistics. Merchants traded it in bustling markets, and officials carefully regulated its distribution. Salt was so valuable that it was sometimes used as currency, and disputes over salt supplies could spark conflict. In Roman kitchens, salt was indispensable. Garum, a fermented fish sauce made with salt, was a staple in Roman cuisine, adding flavor to nearly every dish. Salted foods like hams, fish, and olives were preserved for months, ensuring food security through harsh winters and long journeys. Salted meats and cheeses fed both the legions on the march and the city's population at home. Without salt, the Roman army could not have sustained its long campaigns or maintained its far-flung outposts. The Roman army depended on salted rations for endurance and strength. Salted provisions allowed soldiers to travel great distances, conquer new lands, and hold territory far from home. Control of salt supply gave Rome a strategic edge over its rivals. Whoever controlled the salt controlled the food, the army, and ultimately, the fate of the empire. Salt was present at every meal, from the humblest peasant's bread to the grandest banquet. It was a mark of hospitality and a sign of prosperity. In religious rituals, salt symbolized purity, protection, and the sacred bond between people and the gods. It was sprinkled on altars and offered in temples, woven into the spiritual fabric of Roman life. From the soldier's daily ration to the temple offering, salt was woven into every aspect of Roman existence. Its presence touched every class, every household, and every tradition. For Romans, salt was more than a commodity. It was a pillar of their society, a source of unity, and a symbol of their enduring legacy. The empire's strength, prosperity, and even its survival rested in many ways on salt, a simple mineral that shaped the destiny of Rome and the world. In ancient China, salt was as crucial as in Rome but shaped by unique politics and culture. The state established a salt monopoly, funding everything from the Great Wall to armies. Salt was one of the 5 essential flavors in Chinese cuisine used to balance and enhance dishes. The Chinese invented soy sauce, blending salt with fermented soybeans and grain. Salt's medicinal uses were also vital, used to treat wounds, sore throats, and regulate bodily balance. The salt monopoly often led to high prices, smuggling, and even rebellion. Control of salt was a source of state power and social tension. Salt connected food, medicine, and politics in China's history. It was a catalyst for both unity and unrest. Before the Silk Road, salt roads linked continents, forming the world's first long-distance trade networks. Merchants braved deserts and mountains to transport salt, a commodity as valuable as gold. In Africa, salt from the Sahara was traded for gold, shaping empires like Ghana and Mali. Cities like Timbuktu thrived as salt trade hubs. Control of salt routes built states, funded armies, and sparked conflicts. Salt trade was also a channel for cultural exchange. Ideas, languages, and beliefs traveled with the caravans. The logistics of moving salt over vast distances required remarkable organization. Camels, mules, and large caravans made the trade possible. The salt trade was an early form of international commerce, connecting distant worlds. Salt was the lifeblood of ancient economies and cultures. Ancient peoples knew salt was essential, but also sensed its risks. Physicians from Greece to China warned against too much salt, linking it to health problems. Mediterranean diets were high in salt due to abundant preserved foods, while inland diets had less. Today, we know excess salt causes hypertension and heart disease. In ancient times, the benefits of food preservation outweighed long-term health risks. Salt's role in survival was clear, even if its dangers were only dimly understood. The story of salt is a lesson in the trade-offs between technology, diet, and health. Salt's influence reached far beyond food and trade. In agriculture, it was both a fertilizer and a weapon. Salting enemy fields symbolized total destruction. Salt was a symbol of purity and permanence in religious rituals from Rome to Japan. It sealed covenants and purified offerings. Salt was vital in crafts, curing hides, glazing pottery, and refining metals. Sharing salt was a gesture of hospitality, forging bonds of trust. In many cultures, breaking bread and salt created sacred social ties. Salt added meaning to relationships, not just flavor to food. Its versatility and symbolism made it central to ancient life. The Mediterranean's history is inseparable from salt. The region's climate and coastline made salt abundant, shaping diets and economies. Salted fish, olives, and cheeses were staples, and salt intake was high. The Mediterranean diet, rich in vegetables and healthy fats, offset some risks of high salt. Salt fueled commerce. Phoenicians and Venetians built empires on the salt trade. Cities and navies were funded by salt profits. The paradox, a high-salt diet linked to both health and heart disease. Salt was the engine of Mediterranean life, commerce, and culture. Its story is the story of the sea itself. The story of salt is the story of civilization. It preserved food, built empires, and connected cultures. Salt transformed diets, enabled cities, and fueled economies. The quest for salt sparked exploration, conflict, and innovation. Its health impact was complex, a savior and a hidden risk. Salt's legacy is one of power, necessity, and profound influence. This humble crystal shaped our world in ways we still taste today. The taste of salt is, truly, the taste of history.